Move over a little bit more, please. I got my shoulders. Good morning, and welcome to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBISLP. And good morning, Calvin.
Good morning, Renee. It's kind of cool this morning, but it's a great morning to be right here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM.
And we have, an interesting show today. One of the things that happened that was good last week is that President Biden announced that he will run again for re-election. And in addition to that, so happy to see our Vice President Kamala Harris. She will also be running with him.
Well, Renee, I've been listening to a lot of this conversation about Biden, and I've been listening with the third ear because I think it's so important that we always say you got to listen with the third ear at what people say or don't say, because a lot of even Democrats are saying, well, Biden shouldn't run because of his age. And I look at that as, well, they're saying that they don't want Kamala Harris to be the president. This is the way I see it, because he's going to be like 86. And then someone talking about, well, he might even not make it, talking about he might die. How could someone put that out there? They just don't want him to run because they think that something might happen to him and Kamala Harris might become the president. Well, as quiet as it kept, Renee, she have been the president already. It's just a lot of people are not aware of that. When he had a procedure done, he had to turn over the presidency to her, even though it was only for some hours, but she was the first Black female in the United States to be president of the United States.
All righty. So what I have to say about it is that Vice President Kamala Harris has been in politics for a very long time. She's a seasoned political person, and she has been, quote unquote, she's been groomed for the position. She has gone all around the country. She has spoken out on women's rights. And I think that her and the President Biden, they make a good team. And he has no problem in relinquishing additional responsibilities and exposure to her, so that should something happen to him, that he knows he's leaving the job in qualified hands, as opposed to the people who, Trump had no experience, and you saw how he messed up the government. That would not be the same case if Vice President Kamala Harris has to step up to be the president.
Well, I've listened to quite a few speeches that she's made, Vice President Kamala Harris. And again, this is my opinion. When she went down to Tennessee to speak with the Tennessee Three, she made a speech there, to me, was the best speech she ever made. And you never heard it, pull it up, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. She was fired up and she was ready to go. And she gave a very good, excellent speech down in Tennessee for the Tennessee Three.
All righty. So they're running. I say that President Biden's his remarks are that he wants to finish the job that he started. Since being the president, he has implemented so many things, wanting to do so many things. And just like how elections have consequences, we are now living another nightmare with the GOP, with the Republicans, because now they don't want to pay the bills that was caused by Trump when he was in office. A lot of the things, the debt ceiling, just to make sure that we understand that elections have consequences. We put people in office, or people are put in office, and they are not for the people. They are standing with Murphy and the GOP. That is that's a mess.
Well, you know what, Renee? I'm going to put this out to our veterans because it's so important for our veterans to call the legislators, because this GOP now is trying to cut veteran benefits. You know, they're trying to cut employees from the VA. You know, so I'm telling you, veterans, you know, I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat or liberal, whatever you are, you know, you need to look into this and call your representative to see how they voted on this, because, you know, veterans need all the benefits that they can possibly get, because they sacrifice their family, they sacrifice, so many of them sacrifice all for this country to be free. And now the GOP want to take benefits from the veterans. I'm telling you, we need to call our legislators.
And you need to make sure you put this as part of the report card for our legislators. We need to make sure that when it comes time and they're looking for you to reelect them or send them back to Congress, we need to know, because I'm keeping a report card. I happen to know that one of our Congress people down here in North Carolina, he voted he voted along with the GOP for this crazy debt ceiling commitment that he's trying to get the president to go along with. And we need to know, again, how are our legislators in Washington voting? And when you don't raise the debt ceiling, so many things are going to be defaulted on. And again, the debt ceiling is paying for the bills that have already been committed to. And it's not like you're going to do new bills. The president has put on the table a budget, and the House majority, which are Republicans now, have not put together a budget. But
they gave a bill, you know, to the Senate, and now the Senate have to go over this bill. But you know what happened, Renee? The president already said, you know, he's not going to sign this bill, and I don't blame him 100%. I'm with him 100%, because the fact that, you know, so much is going on. Like, you know, like I say, the veterans, you know, well, at least they didn't touch, you know, Medicare and Medicaid. They didn't, and Social Security. They didn't touch that. You know, but again, what they want to do too is they want to take away, you know, if you own Social, but not Medicaid, if you're on Medicaid, you know, and they want you to work now in order to get those checks, those
benefits, health
benefits. And a lot of people, just because you're young, cannot work. You know, you have health issues. So we want you to understand that it's so important that, you know, you call the 5-call app, Renee?
5-caller apps, call your representative, no matter what party they're part of, to let them know how you feel about the debt ceiling, and them not putting together a reasonable negotiating tool. Because not only will bills will not get paid, but if you're on Social Security, you won't get that check. And if you are depending on that check to live, then sure, you need for them to come to a resolution over this debt ceiling. And that's something that is not being negotiated properly at this time. You know, and they need to make sure that it's done in favor for the people who need it. They want to make sure, okay, when Trump was in office, what he did was that he reduced the taxes for the wealthy people. And this debt ceiling will continue that pledge. And what it's going to do is hurt the middle class. And this is what President Biden is trying to do. He's trying to make sure that he uplifts, and the Republicans are doing everything they can to downplay and to not support the working people or people who are trying to get on their feet. Health insurance is something that President Obama started with the Affordable Care Act, or the Obamacare. And now that they are trying to strengthen it, the Republicans are doing everything that they can to weaken it. They want to knock people off the rolls. They want to reduce food stamps, when we know that there's a food insecurity right now going on in this country. So I just say, Calvin, that we need to encourage our listeners to pay attention, because when you don't pay attention, then you have these people being put in charge to do things that are not going to be in your favor or support what President Biden is trying to do for the people in this USA.
Well, Renee, a lot of people. I have to say this about President Biden. He's done a lot, but I find fault in the fact that he don't talk about the things or the bills or the executive orders that he's passed. Because think about this. And now I'm going to talk for a second to our listeners that are diabetics out there. Think about $35, for your medicine versus hundreds of dollars. Well, this is a bill that he signed, to reduce the cost of your diabetic medicine. $35, that's a big deal from hundreds of, or even thousands of dollars for some people.
Well, it's right now. It's only for patients who have Medicare. That's where you have that cap. However, he was trying to extend it, President Biden, for all people who have insulin, who are insulin dependent, so that some people are paying $3,000 or they have to go to Canada or go out of the country to get their insulin because they can't afford it to get it here in this country. So we just need to make sure that, again, remember, elections have consequences. And we unfortunately put back in office a Republican here in North Carolina, and he's voting along with Murphy and those people who are there in Washington trying to destroy or not help the people.
Well, Renee, I always say this here. So many people, when they come back, now I'm talking about the legislators, when they come back to their hometown, they come and talk to the constituents, and it's name recognition, because they talk what their people want to hear. But then when they get back to Washington, it's a whole nother game. This is why you cannot always vote for someone just because you know them or because you know the name. A lot of times, like I said, people vote for individuals just because of the name, because they was in office already. But you have like report cards. We say that all the time, watch their report cards, see how they voted or didn't vote. See, a lot of times people don't show up to vote, and then because they know that the way they vote will be against, their constituents back home, so they don't show up to vote. But that's just as important to me as a non-vote, or a vote no, because we want to make sure that we follow up. It is so important that we follow up on how our people, when we send them to Washington or even send them to Raleigh right here in North Carolina, how they vote. It's just so important.
Okay, and then locally here in North Carolina, I believe, it's a GOP, Republican controlled state, North Carolina state representatives. And I do believe that they they passed a bill that now is going to require that, was it voter ID?
Voter ID. And don't forget, and then they're going to redo the gerrymandering in 2024. They're going to redo it so that the Republicans will be able to stay in office. That's what they're doing. This is why you got to be so watchful. You got to look with that third eye and listen with the third ear at these politicians, Renee.
And we know that in Charlotte, North Carolina, the representative who is now in the state, she went and changed her party from a Democrat to a Republican. She ran, and this is why you have to be very, very careful and watch what people are doing. So now that she's in a Democratic controlled county, they're going to redistrict the maps so that they mix her up with the Republican controlled one so that she gets to stay in office. So these are the games that people are playing, and we have to educate ourselves. We have to stay conscious and be aware of what people are doing. And not only are they doing it here in North Carolina, they're doing it all over. We'll talk on the eventually about this gun control and how there are 3 states that have now put in major gun control law and banning the ARs, and that's in the state of Washington, Colorado, and Maryland. Why can't all of these states put in place a way that we get these ARs? Look at Texas. They have such leniency that this person was able to get an AR and shoot up, what, 5 people?
And this is what I don't understand, Renee. How can an illegal immigrant, can get an AR-15? I don't understand that, and I wish someone would give us a call at 252-756-2008 and explain it to me. Because if you are an illegal immigrant here, how can you possibly go in a store and buy a AR-15? And then now, like Texas, that's what just happened. And he came because he was shooting in his own yard, and then his neighbors came over and asked him, could he not shoot because they had a little baby, a newborn baby that was trying to sleep. Now he goes, knock on the door, go inside, and to the neighbor's house and shoot everybody in there. It's amazing. And then what I don't understand is Abbott, the governor, he had to talking about how the victims are illegal immigrants. They had nothing to do with the fact that they were shot and killed there. So this is what they're always talking about. But then, Renee, you have illegal immigrants from all over, not just from the southern border.
Yes, we do. Okay. They come in from Canada. They come in any kind of way. They even fly in, might have a visa, but then when it comes time for them to leave, they don't leave. And these are the people, okay, that are put into positions where they become empowered and think that they can do whatever they want. We need to hold, and I'm not bashing government, because government, when it's done the right way, helps a lot of people. But what we need to make sure is we start to hold these elected officials accountable. Abbott needs to know that he is just as he might have pulled the trigger once he allows people to freely go into stores and purchase weapons.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's just like Florida now. You don't need anything to go and buy a weapon. You got the open carry there now. Anybody can buy a gun in Florida, and there's no license you have to get. This is, I don't know what this country is coming to.
Well, I mean, it's going back to the the Westerns.
You're right.
When, back in the day if you don't know, my husband Calvin is a Western fanatic. He will sit up there and look at those black and white Westerns over and over again. So how was it back then, Calvin? Everybody was walking with a gun on their whole store and on it. What is it called?
Yeah, well, back then, but you see, the real deal is Westerns are Westerns. In real life, they wasn't shooting up people the way they showed in the Western. That's just the way it is. But we have to just pay attention to what's going on around us, because now think about it. Before it used to be Virginia, where people from the north would come down to Virginia, buy all these guns and take them back up north. Now I guess people can go to Florida and buy them, because I don't know what DeSantis is thinking, but I think lost his mind.
Oh, don't say that. Well, I mean, I think that you have to have a person of reason, and we do know that DeSantis is thinking about running for president. But look at all the things that he's putting in place. Can't have talk about Black history. Want to erase the different and the various things in our country and in that state. So imagine if he became president, what and how would things be him as a president? It's worse. I think he could be worse than Trump. And we know Trump is not getting back in the White House. And it's only a matter of time that he gets to go and meet his maker for all the things that he's done while he was in office. So, again, we're going to be having, and don't go away. We're having our Black History moment also coming after this break. So we're up for our first break. Thanks for listening, and 252-756-2008 to join the conversation. Partial funding for this program is brought to you by Turn it down. Turn it down. For His Glory Lawn Care is here to serve you with a spirit of excellence. Contact Patrick for a free estimate regarding all your lawn care needs.
Yours is down as far as it can go.
Turn it down.
It's down as far as it can go.
Well, why is this thing so loud?
You hear it now?
No.
Do you hear it?
Mm-mm. Okay. All right.
Okay. Oh, I know what happened. They changed the things. They changed these. So you and I are on the same one now. That's what happened.
Hmm?
You and I are on the same earphones.
And welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. Should you choose to join the conversation, feel free to call us at 252-756-2008. And we're going to go into our Black history. Who do you have for us this week, Calvin?
Well, this week, Renee, I have a very special woman, Dr. Dorothy Lavinia Brown. And what I'm going to bring to our listeners today is something I think very special. She was born in 1919 and lived until 2004. And this is some good information, Renee.
Okay, but I have it that she was born in 1914. Got to give.
Okay, well, okay. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. What I have and what you have.
Okay.
Do you have? Okay, let me just go through this here. You can make any corrections. How about that? Okay.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Dorothy Brown was the first single woman in Tennessee to be granted the right to become an adoptive parent. Okay. Dr. Brown was the first African American woman to serve in the Tennessee state legislature. Dr. Brown was the first African American surgeon in the South. Now, Dr. Brown spent her childhood in an orphanage and grew up to become the first African American woman surgeon in the South, eventually being made chief of surgeon at Nashville Riverside Hospital. She was also the first African American woman to be made a fellow of the American College of Surgeons. Dr. Brown was born in Philadelphia in 1914. Soon after her birth, her mother, Edna Brown, moved to upstate New York and placed her in an orphanage there. The predominantly white Troy orphanage, later renamed Vanderhitten Hall, was her home from age 5 months until her 13th birthday. When her mother reclaimed her by that time, however, the orphanage seemed a safer home than the one her estranged mother could provide. And this is what we're talking. So Doctor ran away. She ran away 5 times, Renee, while she was at her mother, returning each time to the orphanage. As a teen, she worked as a maid and at the Wing Sling Chinese Laundry. Determined to get an education, she finally ran away at age 15 to enroll in Troy High School. When the principal realized that she did not have anywhere to stay, he arranged for a foster home with Loda and Samuel Wesley Ridman. They became a major influence throughout her life. In 1937, when Brown graduated from Troy High School at the top of her class, the Troy Conference Methodist Women awarded her a 4-year scholarship to Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina. So she went right here in Greensboro, North Carolina. She received a BA in 1941, graduating second in her class, and became an inspector in the Rochester, New York Army Ordnance Department as part of the war effort. Dr. had wanted to become a physician since she had her tonsils removed as a child. In 1944, she enrolled at Meharry Medical School in Nashville, Tennessee. She graduated in 1948. After a year's internship at Harlem Hospital, that's where you used to work, Renee.
Yes,
the next challenge was her choice of residency surgery. There were no other Black woman in general surgery in the South, and she had to forge through almost universal resistance. So back then, we know they didn't want no Black woman down here, but she went and she continued, and she had to forge through almost universal resistance. She said that Dr. Matthew Walker was a brave man because he accepted her into the program. Brown worked through a 5-year residency at Meharry and George Washington Hubbard Hospital to become assistant professor of surgery in 1955, and the first African-American woman to be made a fellow of the American College of Surgeons. Describing her drive to preserve, Dr. Brown said, "I tried to be not hard, but durable." In 1957 to 1983, Brown was chief of surgery at Nashville's Riverside Hospital, clinical professor of surgery at Meharry Medical College, and educational director for the Riverside Meharry Clinical Rotation Program. She also served as a consultant on health, education, and welfare for the National Institute of Health, Lung and Blood in 1982. So Dr. Brown did a lot of things, Renee. Among Dr. Brown's many honors are the naming of the Dr. Brown Women's Residency at Meharry College in 1970. She also received the Humanitarian Award from the Carnegie Foundation in 1993 and the prestigious Herrera of Egler Model, not because I have done so much, but to say to young people that I can be none. She did a lot in her time, Renee.
Oh, yeah.
And Doc, go ahead.
I'm seeing here that in 1959, she became in 1956, Brown agreed to adopt a female child from an unmarried patient in Riverside Hospital. So she understood the plight that she went to, and so she took on, she adopted a child. It also shows here that she is a Delta. And for all Delta fans out there, did you know this? Did you know that Dr. Dorothy Lavinia Brown was a Delta? And so, again, she took the arts, all right? And sometimes you don't know, you're against foster care. But she was fortunate enough to get into a family who recognized her and supported her with her educational ideas. So when you see people and children who have these opportunities and yet they don't take advantage of it, you see that she's a great example to children. And I think that her story is a good story. Her life was a great life, and that we need to encourage parents to share and to go online to get her information.
You're right, Renee, because she's like you said, like I said, she was an orphanage. She was in an orphanage, and her mother, she couldn't stay with her mother. The orphanage was better for her than living with her mother. She ran away from her mother 5 times to go back to this orphanage. but she wanted this education. When she got her tonsils removed, Renee, she decided then that she wanted to be a physician. She wanted to be a doctor. And she went and did everything she possibly could. You know, you take a lot of kids that you say they run away, they run away. Well, why are they running away? That makes a big thing right there. Why are they running away? And then they ended up like Dr. Brown. She ended up being a top surgeon, you know, in the South, the first Black female surgeon in the South.
So again, we're going to, salute Dr. Brown today. And again, Black History is always going to be every Monday at 10:20. And so we always encourage y'all to listen in, because we are bringing to the forefront not some of the names of the people who you don't know.
And this is what we do. We try to, like you said, you know, a lot of people, when they say Black history, you know, they talk about people that we know every day. But we bring people to you that, you know, I'm learning about all of these people that we bring into you, because a lot of them, I don't even know about them. But I have to do research to bring them to you. And this is what it's all about, bringing you to individuals that we want to keep their history alive.
All righty. So, Calvin, after the next break, we're going to go and talk about more about this gun control, and also what the Tennessee Three have done in terms of bringing to the forefront that, you know, we're really tired of having children murdered in their classrooms, in their home, murdered because you're Black, murdered because there's just so many things that people are finding open up the wrong car door. So they have to shoot somebody. Anyway, we'll be right back after this break. News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. And good morning again, and welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. Calvin, I did say we're here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. Calvin did say that we want to expand on the gun control. And gun control or firearm regulation is a set of laws or policies that regulate the manufacturer, the sale, the transfer, protection, possession, modification of use of firearms by civilians. And so what we're saying, okay, or what we're in support of, there were 3 states that have put in gun control bills, okay, and these bills are set, okay, like in Colorado,
Washington,
the state of Washington, and Maryland. So they have already started to do things that because they're concerned about how the ARs are out of control, or just in firearms in general are technically out of control. And so what's important, okay, is that if there's a bill to say, well, listen, we want safer gun control, but then you have people in Congress who were saying, no, there's nothing we can do about it. And we have to press our Congress people to say, yes, you can do something about it. And we need to make sure that no one walks back into a school again and starts shooting up the teachers and the children. Our children need to be felt secure and safe. And when we send them to school, we need to know and make sure that by any means that they're going to return home that day. So, or what we're saying is that, again, report cards. If you have a legislator or someone in Congress in Washington, in the House of Representatives or the Senate, and they're saying there's nothing they could do about gun control, or about, because we need to do a report card of them and see if the NRA or the gun manufacturers are funneling money for them to take this stance.
Well, Renee, I have to agree with you. But the thing too, some legislators talking about, well, we need to arm teachers. We need to put more guns in the schools. Well, that does not make any sense at all, because guns in the school are going to cause more of a problem than there already is. So we got to think about this here a lot better than what it is, because they're talking about putting more officers in school. Well, I can remember when this schools shootings, and Valdez. Well, that they had officers there. Look at all the cops that came there, and they waited. They didn't do nothing until they was told to do something, I guess, and then they went in there and got the shooter. But they was hanging around the hallway while shooting was going on. So we need to make sure that we protect our children. We have grandchildren that go to school, and I remember I think it was last year or early this year, our granddaughter says, I don't feel safe in school. So if they're going to go to school and worry about somebody coming in there shooting them, or shooting up their school, how can they possibly learn? So we have to do something about that. And actually, I'm going to invite on air the school superintendent right here in Pitt County, North Carolina, to come down on our show, and let's talk about this. Because we need to find out what the superintendent is doing right here in Pitt County, Renee.
Okay, and then as of March, Biden announces a new gun control measure, and that measure, it was science expansion executive order on gun control. So whereas the legislators can't do anything, President Biden can put in an executive order, but it's not a bill. And unless it's a bill passed on by the government, once he's not president anymore, they can roll all those things back.
Well, that is so important. When a president, I don't care what president there is in office, they need to get bills done, not executive orders, because like you said, executive orders, what does it mean? It only means that it's going to stay in effect while that president is in office. And once they leave office, then anything can happen. But we want you to know right here that guns, especially these AR-15s, need to be taken off, so that no one can buy them. Now in Colorado and Washington and Maryland, right, the state, right, they said that they outlawed the AR-15s, where you can no longer buy them. Now the ones that already have them, they're going to be grandfathered in where they can keep them. But you're not going to be able to buy them in those states. And there's a total of 10 states, Renee, that have these laws about AR-15s. But see, we don't hear about that. This is why we gave you this information right here at News and Politics Today, because we want you to be aware of what's going on and what states are doing this, helping out, with the AR-15s, and what states are not. North Carolina, we're one of those states where we're not doing that good as far as gun control. So we need to do better about gun control right here in North Carolina, because you never know when it's going to happen right here in your hometown.
And the thing also is that with Congress not passing any bills, the House are making ridiculous bills. We have, again, people from representing us in Congress. And again, elections have consequences. And he is voting with the Republicans, as he is, to pass these ridiculous bills. And then in addition to the gun control and the passage of those bills, you also have the George Floyd, all right, police reform. These things were bills were bills that never was passed. And as we sit here, they are taking and doing more to more not only with guns but also with voting rights, purging, adding and redistricting, doing gerrymandering to make to take the control and for the Republicans to have the control, because they right now, as long as they are in control of the state, then they can make these bills and they can do whatever they want. But again, we need to make sure that we start to protect our interests and making sure that our interest is for the betterment, not only for a certain group or a top 1%, but all of people in this country.
Basically, this is the thing, the governor, Colorado governor, Jared Polis, signed 4 gun control bills Friday aimed at stemming firearm violence. And right away, and pro-gun groups immediately challenged 2 of the bills with lawsuits. One measure passed by the state legislature aimed to strengthen Colorado's red flag laws. We don't hear about that red flag law that much. And I'd like to know if we have that red flag law right here in North Carolina. We have to look that up, which empowers people to ask a judge to order firearms to be taken from those who pose a threat to themselves or others. The red flag law, Renee, is a good law if it's implemented.
Yes, and this is what, again, using our 5 caller apps, staying on top of all the things that are going on, particularly if you're in a red control state, meaning that your GOP, which is the Republicans, they are making rules and regulations to in their favor. And again, with the report card, we'll know how they voted. Particularly 2024 is a big year for re-elections. However, what we will have in 2023 are our municipal elections, Calvin.
But Renee, just go back to Colorado. Colorado, the bill being challenged this is what's so important. The bill that's being challenged is to raise the buy-in age for firearms from 18 to 21 and set a 3-day waiting period on gun purchases. Colorado deserves to be safe in their communities and in their schools, in the grocery stores, in the nightclubs. And the governor said, after inking the legislation, that's what should be done. When you go out to have a party, even in your backyard, you want to be safe. People come to your house today, you don't know if they're carrying a gun or not. So this is why it's so important. And I applaud those 3 governors, Renee, for doing what they did for gun control.
Yes, and I applaud the Tennessee 3 for them stepping up, getting expunged. And we have a call. Hello. Good morning, News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill.
You're not getting nothing.
Good morning. Okay, that was not a good call.
No, that wasn't a call for us. Wrong number.
Okay, so we were talking about the Tennessee 3. When the last time that people opened fire and killed 6 people in a school, and the kids came out of the classrooms and demanded that they do something about controlling the guns. And we have the Tennessee 3, the Justin Jones Justin, Preston, and Johnson, of course, what they did was that they expunged the two, and this is an old story now, but um, it's still very new because they went as young legislators. They know the price that children and people are paying with these guns. So they spoke out, and because of that, number one, we talked about Vice President Kamala Harris going right down there and encouraging them that not to be shut up. Like do not do what you are doing because you're afraid of being expunged. They cannot expunge you. They cannot do anything but make good, sensible laws. And Tennessee has yet to do that because they're not part of the three. However, with these young people being here, and young people more taking charge, particularly students. Now, we always say that we need to make sure that our high school students, as they're coming upon graduation, they're doing proms and things. What they need to do is go register and vote, because that's the only way we're going to really see change is by voting these people out.
Well, and I always say, Renee, individuals like the Democratic Party or even the Republican Party, they can go to these schools doing assembly and register these seniors, because so many seniors going to be 18 when they graduate, and if they're 17 and going to be 18 by the time the election come around, they can vote. So this is another way of getting voters out there, going to the schools and asking the principal, can they come in there during assembly time and register students? It's so important to do this.
Yes, and we're encouraging, because even at the age of 16, you can register. However, you can't vote until you're 18. And then the other thing is, don't wait until election day, an active election going on, to check your status. The last thing you want to do, because we know these people are purging the voter roster. This is their way, again, of voter suppression, now requiring here in North Carolina that people have IDs, knowing that until we regain our power in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, then we are going to be constantly under the foot of these people with holding our necks down.
Well, Renee, I'm going to say this, people that get food stamps, Medicaid, I have to say this, they need to, vote more so than anybody else, because your legislators in North Carolina and other states are going to be taking your food stamps away from you. So it's so important that we look into this.
And then also there was something on the books that as of April 1st, they were just going to be purging and dropping people if you didn't go for recertification from Medicaid, from food stamps. So you need to stay, again, on top of this. If you are recipients, and there's nothing wrong with having to use food stamps. There's nothing wrong with having to get Medicaid. Now that Medicaid has been expanded here, we don't know the attack that it's going to come on because it's something to benefit the people.
Well, Renee, we know individuals that have gotten insurance now that had never had insurance before. And because of this Medicaid expansion here in North Carolina, they now have insurance. They can go to their doctor and get themselves checked out. Their family can go to the doctor and get checked out, because doctor appointments, going to the doctor is so very important. So many times people didn't go to the doctor because they didn't have insurance, but now they can.
And the main thing also is with the Medicaid expansion, it doesn't go into effect until July.
Well, that's the key right there. But after July and August, September, you can go get that checkup that you need. That checkup that you've been talking about, and then you feel better once you go to the doctor and find out that you're healthy, that you're going to live to be another day you're older.
And then also the other part of it is that if you call to make an appointment with a doctor, what you're going to find out is that it's not until, it would take 3 months sometimes to get that appointment. So even if you are enrolling in Medicaid expansion, okay, if you're going to be recipient of it, call and make an appointment now, because again, before you know it, it's going to be July, and you don't want to make that call in July to get a 3 month out doctor's appointment.
Well, you think about it, Renee. Individuals that live in rural areas, they're going to be able to now see doctors, and it's so important that, they get to see these doctors because they haven't been able to see doctors, or they had to travel so far to see a doctor. Now they're going to be opening up hospitals in these rural areas where individuals can go now and get the health care that they need.
Yeah, so again, you have to pay attention. You have to use your 5 caller apps. You have to let your legislators know that you need to have good gun sense laws. And when they're not paying you any attention, again, do research and find out exactly where the money, who's funneling the money, so that they can take these stands. I don't know anybody really who thinks it's okay for a person with a gun to go into a school and shoot up teachers and children. I don't know what legislator wants to know that in their community that there's not safety because we don't have good gun sense bills and laws in place. So again, pay attention, all right? Because as you sleep, you're being purged off the voting roster. And it's important that you pay attention to who's running in your municipals. This is a year for municipal elections where you might have school board. Again, pay attention who's on your school board, even if you don't have children in the school, because I know people who don't have children in the school and they're on the school board. And so we need to make sure that they're working in our children's interest. And then also your mayor, your city council people, your commissioners, they are the ones who determine locally how money that is sent down from Washington, how it's being dispersed. And you want to make sure that your mayor and your city council are working to fight for the community that they've been representing, and not sell out the community, because they do that.
Well, Renee, one of the things that we didn't discuss today is the COVID. And COVID is still around. COVID is still around. It's still taking people out. And we always say every Monday, wear your mask. I know people think it's over with. People think that they don't have to wear a mask anymore. But believe me when I tell you, you still need to wear that mask. But it doesn't affect you until someone in your household comes down with this COVID. And people are still dying from it. Not as many as before, but 300 to 400 people that are still dying every day from COVID, throughout the United States. But it only affects people when it's touching you directly. So again, this is what we're saying. Still wear your mask, get your booster shots, get your vaccines, and cover yourself and cover your family.
All righty. So again, this week or Monday, we're here every Monday at 10 o'clock. And we're happy that Biden announces his reelection. We're happy that there are some states now putting in some good gun control. The debt ceiling, pay attention, because it could possibly have an impact on you, particularly when they're looking to reduce appointments in veterans, take away some of the veterans' benefits. If you are living off of Social Security, just know that there's a possibility that they're attacking it. And if the debt ceiling is not raised, you won't get your Social Security or your veterans check on time. All that is put into the bill of things that have been okay. Anyway, news and politics today with Renee and Calvin Boston. We'll be back here.